Get ready for a great ride today. As you know, or may know, we've now done a number of these OIS meetings. This is number 14, believe it or not. We've done 8 of the AAO meetings and the remainder in either ASCRS. We had our launch of ASRS last year. So over 900 of you today registered for this meeting. Thank you for that, and thank you for the support. If you look around, this is who's sitting next to you. A number of small and large company people, some financial people, service providers, et cetera, as we've had in years past. A great mix. It's the mix we've always intended to be at this meeting. Traditionally, we go through the drugs and the devices, and we'll stay on that for this year. Wiley Chambers was kind enough to share these numbers with me, and you can see the overall original NDA and BLA approvals in blue versus ophthalmic. We had 4 last year. Here they are, the tetracaine, the bronfenac, the riboflavin cross-linking system, which was combined with the device, and then lifitegrast. These are all important approvals, but I'm going to highlight 2, which I think are particularly important. First is the Xiidra Shire approval for dry eye. This is the first new dry eye drug we've had in nearly 15 years, I think 13 and a half or so to be exact, but that's important, and the first to be approved for a sign and symptom. Hard to get precise numbers on where this is going to go, but these are the Bernstein analyst numbers, and I think Bernstein is one of the best in the business. You can see projected to be a $1 billion drug by 2020. So this is a big product, and I'm personally proud that we were able to invest in Sarcode, which advanced it before Shire took it. I did want to mention also Avedro and cross-linking. I think this is acknowledged to be effective around the world and is now approved in our country for use in keratoconus and corneal ectasion. I think the aspiration of the company is to go after the low to moderate myopia, which is a mega market in and of itself. The approval of Humira for uveitis was not an original NDA, it was supplemental, but I think it's important. We've had now 3 failed phase 3s in uveitis, and this was the first to get approval and indication for this label, so I think that's an important milestone. There are a number of products that have phase 3 results that are tracking toward approval, we hope. The first is this latanoprostene. It's a prostaglandin agonist that's enhanced, if you will. The phase 2 studies suggested a little bit better efficacy than latanoprost, and they've shown pretty convincing non-inferiority to timolol in their phase 3 trials. We also now have a combination, a new combination drug approved, which is Repressa with latanoprost, so-called Rocklatan. They announced their results not too long ago, and this is 2 to 3 points better than latanoprost alone, which I think will be a huge innovation for the space. And of course, the company's also advancing Repressa to approval, they hope. Now, you may not be aware of this phase 3 trial. I wasn't until it was pointed out to me when I did this survey, but Actemra, or tocilizumab, an anti-IL-6 receptor antagonist, had a positive phase 3 for giant cell arteritis, which all the ophthalmologists in the room know causes ischemic optic neuropathy. It's an orphan indication, but I think it was an important trial in that regard. Cyvitas had a positive phase 3 for the treatment of non-infectious uveitis, and it's completed enrollment of the second, and I think is tracking toward what will be approval of this implant, this corticosteroid implant, yet another for uveitis in this case. And Santen had a positive phase 3 for active severe vernal keratoconjunctivitis with a variant of cyclosporin. This was largely international trial, but did have US sites as well. Now, as far as upcoming milestones, what we can anticipate, I think probably the most anticipated is the Ophtotech phase 3 data, which we expect by the end of the year. As you know, they're pursuing 3 phase 3 trials, at least 2 of which will read out by the end of the year. This is an anti-VEGF agent with a PDGF inhibitor for patients with wet macular degeneration. And the reason that's gained so much poignancy is because of the combination data that was released by Regeneron just a week or 2 ago with anti-VEGF and anti-PDGF beta receptor. So a different target, slightly different design, slightly different inclusion criteria, but the Regeneron trial, at least at 12 weeks, did not work. And so that gave people pause to ask what that meant for Ophtotech and what that meant for combination therapy in general. I would just say the first caution is it's not the same target, not the same design, not the same patients. And the second is that we do have a number of phase 1-2 combination trials, anti-VEGF and Ang-2 in the case of Regeneron, the bispecific anti-VEGF and Ang-2 for Roche Genentech, both of which are showing promising early results. And now most recently we have Opthea, we'll hear from them later. Again, promising early results for a drug effect of their anti-VEGF CD, which when combined with anti-VEGF-A would be more of a pan-VEGF inhibition, another combination therapy. We're still looking forward to what will be the first robust phase 3 trial for geographic atrophy with factor D inhibitor. This is the Genentech trial. It's originally was cited to come out in 2017, but we will see. Sometimes these trials take longer to enroll than we hope. We hope as well in 2017 to get the first phase 3 results from a sustained release intraocular glaucoma implant. This is Bimatoprost from Allergan, actively enrolling its 2 phase 3s. And I think it'll be important for AGTC to announce the results of their 2 ongoing phase 1/2, or really sort of more phase 2 trials, both in X-linked retinoschisis and in achromatopsia. We have at least one win here with SPARC and RPG65, but these will be important follow-on indications and speak to the broad potential of gene therapy, I think, in ophthalmology. We also have the sustained release trial, which we're anticipating this year. This is a reservoir to release Lucentis over time, decrease the injection burden. And I think very importantly, we're going to have the first human results from Aura. We'll hear from Aura later today. This is a virus-like particle that delivers a laser-activated, light-activated therapeutic payload for ocular melanoma. And you can see in the animal model the dramatic responses that these animal models show, and we're all hopeful will translate into humans. Again, we'll know that this year. So a lot coming up on the drug side in the next 12 to 18 months, let's say. On the device side, we've had 61 510K approvals, and you can see here 4 PMA approvals as listed. They are here: the Raindrop Near Vision Inlay, the Technis Symphony Extended Range of Vision Intraocular Lens, the SiPass Microstent, and the VisuMax femtosecond laser. I'm going to highlight just 2, which I think are noteworthy. First is the SiPass, which is the second MIGS device to be approved, a different mechanism. Here we go into the suprachoroidal space as opposed to directly into Schlemm's canal. I've not seen the publication related to the phase 3 efficacy, but clearly enough to get approval, and I think quite promising as a device. And we know that there are at least 3 fast followers, if you will, MIGS devices that are coming on with the Zen device now, Allergan, originally Aquasys, Santen just acquired InFocus with the microshunt, and then Ivantis with the microstent as well. And we've talked about this in the past, but this, I think, is clearly going to be a huge market, MIGS. It's taking a glaucoma surgery, which is a high morbidity procedure, to a low morbidity procedure, and I think we'll see the adoption curve look pretty similar to that arrow, if I'm not mistaken. I mentioned the Raindrop Near Vision Inlay approval just in June of this year, following on to the last year's approval of the AcuFocus. So now we have these 2 corneal approaches to presbyopia. It'll be very interesting to see over the coming years the commercial adoption of these 2 somewhat complementary approaches. Now, in addition on the device side, as you know, we talked about this for the first time last year. We have the de novo approvals. I think of these as 510Ks with heavy clinical data, or PMA lights, if you will. There have been a lot of these. The number's been increasing across the agency. You can see last year a total of 25. And we're starting now to see more and more ophthalmic approvals through this path. We've had 2 up until this date, and then just this last year we've had 3. The 3 are listed here: the SensiMed Triggerfish, the Glaucoma Companion, which is a sort of an occluder of the laser, the outflow system to prevent drop going into the pharynx, and then a pediatric vision scanner. I'm just going to mention here this first-in-class non-invasive continuous 24-hour IOP monitoring device by SensiMed. I think this is a quite novel approach. It has the potential to really revolutionize not just the management of glaucoma, but the clinical trials for glaucoma. Will we go to a time point matched endpoint, or will we go to an area under the curve, for example, if once this is used, these sorts of devices are used routinely? Now, we always like to incorporate financing and money here at the meeting. It's not a dirty word, as you know. This is the NIH funding. You can see it's been pretty flat, but of course relatively down after cost of living and inflation adjustments. The good news is that venture broadly is up. You can see here biotech in blue and medtech in yellow. Broadly, they're both up this year's first dollars invested. And if you look at the number of first financings, this is Series A financing, they're up as well. So the company creation environment broadly across healthcare is good. This is ophthalmology. You can see the The device deals are in yellow and the drug deals are in blue. The good news is that biotech is holding stable, and it's a very robust financing environment for strong biotech companies in ophthalmology, just like the rest of venture. The device side is under pressure. I'll just say what it is. There have been, to date, we have no new financings on the device side. You can see there is no yellow bar there through 2016, and that number has clearly been decreasing for the last 3 years. So that's a problem. That pipeline of early device flow into ophthalmology, I think, it's going to be an issue, and we're going to see more of that over time. It's very hard for investors to make money in that space. And that leads to the question is, how do we fund this innovation gap from idea to the earliest clinical results there and elsewhere? Well, I would just say, I would remind you that we have an incubator in ophthalmology that specializes in facilitating that transition, if you will, and now has the approval through SidePass as a predicate for success. So I would provide that as one option for the early companies that want help advancing their ideas. But now, interestingly, as I collected these, we have at least 5 early-stage ophthalmology investment groups. And again, all these slides are going to be available to you, so you don't have to write any of this down. But each of these groups is interested and actively investing in early-stage ophthalmic devices and drugs. And so that's the good news. Hopefully that'll reverse that trend, and we'll get some ophthalmic devices and some drugs moving forward. Now, on Wall Street, what are we seeing? Here's a nice, almost 25-year perspective of the biotech stock index. It's not a bad run, 25 years. Here's the year run. You can see for the biotech in red. It's stable. I'd say it's stable. And when we add the device index, you can see that's stable to up a bit. So over the last year, those two markets have running stable. And we're going to introduce here today what we're calling the OIS index. You'll hear about that later. Mike Lockman has a nice 3 or 4 minute presentation on just what that is. But in a nutshell, we've taken 29 of the publicly traded companies in ophthalmology, about 70% biotech and 30% devices, to almost $13 billion of total value, and we've begun to track them, and we're going to continue to track them. You'll get these in the newsletters and briefings that you get from OIS, and you'll see that as an indicator. And as you might imagine, since it's 70% drugs and 30% devices, it kind of tracks right between drugs and devices as you might anticipate, shown here. And that'll change over time. How's the public market faring? Well, you can see here that it's been cyclic, and we're sort of going into a down cycle. Last year we had 96 healthcare IPOs, and this year we had 28. That's clearly down in a second year of what I think is a trend. And if you look at ophthalmology, we've gone from 10 to 1 with Clearside. So it's a more challenging public offering market now. That's pretty clear, and Joe Gilliam will talk about that in his presentation later today. The M&A space in ophthalmology continues. There have been some, in addition to the big J&J and Abbott Medical mega merger, if you will, there have been some nice deals. Again, through the middle, you can see Alcon Novartis with Transcend and Santen with Infocus. MIGS, I think now has emerged as not only a validated, but a very, very important sector in our discipline. I just want to end by reminding you of a few things. We now have 3 OIS meetings. We introduced ASRS last August. We're going to do that again in Boston next year. And of course, there'll be the ASCRS and AAO in Los Angeles and New Orleans. We hope you come to those events and join us there. We mentioned that we now have this pretty heavy, I hope it's not too heavy, information flow through OIS that you can have access to for free, absolutely for free. We have the podcasts, we have the videos, and we have the newsletters. And if you have any information that you want us to get into those channels, just feel free to reach out to Bill or Gil or me, or to Craig and his team, and we can get it to the right people, because that's how we know when you tell us things that otherwise weren't available. Lastly, I just want to say that this year, as sort of a give back to all of you who've been so supportive of us, we're introducing what we're calling the OIS Masterclass. These are no-cost classes that we're holding the day after OIS, so it'll be tomorrow morning. It's a half-day course. And this year, we've invited those who, through their registration, have expressed an expertise in clinical and regulatory development. So there's only room for 100. I apologize if you weren't one of the people who was invited. The room is completely full. It's not in this hotel, so if you show up here tomorrow, it won't be here. But at future meetings, we will have more of these. We'll have a master class in how to commercialize your drug and device, how to get ready for an IND, et cetera. And again, our intent here is just to take the brain trust that we have in our field and share it with you as a thank you to all of you for supporting OIS over these many, many years.